Over the past couple of years, it's very easy to say that a lot of Star Wars fans, in fact, the majority have a lot of issues with the sequel trilogy films, mostly to do with The Last Jedi by director and writer Rian Johnson, and exactly what Kathleen Kennedy allowed Rian to do with the way Luke Skywalker was handled in that installment. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, where Kathleen Kennedy is today is that she's still having a lot of trouble with Skeleton Crew and the Acolyte, which by the way were teased today over at Celebration. They had some footage of the Acolyte behind closed doors, and they also had some images being unveiled for Skeleton Crew and everything around those lines. Skeleton Crew is still on track for a 2023 release. Meanwhile, Acolyte is heading for 2024 around the spring if it doesn't get delayed further. Now that brings us to exactly what Kathleen Kennedy had to say about Gina Carano and everything to do with the character of Cara Dune. Now, you all are very well aware that the way that Gina Carano was fired was unacceptable. Some would argue, that it was acceptable the way it was handled. I, however, think it was unacceptable through ways of social media and stuff like that. And it really should have been done in a professional manner. When you look at Gina Carano, though, alright, this is something that's a very touchy subject for a lot of the people at Lucasfilm to even talk about. So I'm surprised that Kathleen Kennedy really kind of talked about this directly for the first time in a very long time, by the way. Talking about Gina and how she's very much proud of the decisions that she made about her firing and more. So on to the next big thing here, alright? What's even all the more exciting about this entire slate of projects that are being announced by John and Dave at D23 later this year is that it's shifting away from Kathleen Kennedy. However, what Kennedy had to say about Gina is that with Kathleen Kennedy, of course, recently promoting both Skeleton Crew and the Acolyte, she recently got on the subject of firing Gina Carano and the current plan by Lucasfilm to rehire Carano to bring back Cara Dune. Kennedy went on to state the following to the entire fandom. I feel that I made the right decision with that situation that was just getting out of hand. We here at Lucasfilm had warned Gina several times about what she was posting on social media and how wrong it was, and I gave her that last chance. Maybe the way I handled her termination was unacceptable, yes, I will own that, but I still stand by my decision that we had to prevent any form of toxicity invading our plans for the Star Wars brand. And to see many fans supporting somebody like this is very disappointing to make many of us here at Lucasfilm. It just shows why the fandom is so divided for obvious reasons, and that's something that we feel we need to course correct. I have heard conversations of Disney pursuing a remedy to handle the Gina scenario, and I do not support this at all one bit. This is, of course, and that's all I will say about that overall scenario. Now, let me just stop right here for 1 second before Kennedy goes on to talk more about this, is that we know that Kathleen Kennedy has been one of the prime examples of really creating controversy in Star Wars, not just creatively speaking, but also based on how she handles a lot of the creators themselves personally. We have seen what she had done with, David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, or what she actually did with J.J. Abrams by forcing him to do specific things with The Rise of Skywalker. In fact, believe it or not, Palpatine's return was not JJ's idea, this was Kathleen Kennedy's, and that was to justify Rey's powers, basically. Now, you guys may be very well aware about that Rey Star Wars movie that was confirmed today, that's going to be placed 15 years after the events of Episode 9. We talked about this, of how this too is going to be adapted by John and Dave in a post-Episode 9 series that's going to work hand in hand with the movie, and eventually really retconning Rey's background and backstory and her actual name not being referenced as Rey Skywalker. The other thing about this, though, however, on the other end of the spectrum with Gina Carano, is that Kathleen Kennedy is putting it out there that she had warned Gina several times to stop posting what she was posting on social media, and Gina kept on doing it anyway, and fans argue about this in many different ways. There's a lot of fans that will say Gina did nothing wrong, other fans will say that Gina did something terribly wrong, and That's why you see so much fan division. That's the real reason, is because there's fans that support Gina and fans that do not support Gina. You know, so Kathleen Kennedy saying that Gina's personality is the one that was creating toxicity within the Star Wars projects, I believe is just out of whack and just not truthful in the least. Because we know that there were a lot of people on set defending Gina Carano. Carl Weathers, by the way, being one of them, you know, who loves Gina. He's a big-time supporter of her and just believes that she's one of the greatest additions to The Mandalorian. Now, on to the next thing about all of this, okay? Now, on top of that, we also know that Kathleen Kennedy is trying to really prevent the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew from becoming disasters. However, she goes on to state, listen, these types of things happen in the film industry all the time. Sometimes you have to terminate those that are not following a set of rules, especially after you have warned them several times in advance, before everything goes downhill from there. It was a tough decision, yes, I know I would get some kind of criticism over this choice, but I had to make this call to show my reputation to this company and to my time as a producer in the film industry. I feel, and many others who support me feel, a character like Cara Dune is completely unnecessary here at this time, and it would only add fuel to the fire if they decide to bring her back. I wouldn't advise it, and I wouldn't even go as far to say that would be a make or break for the franchise. I really am proud of the choice that I made with Gina and hold no regrets at all. Now, those are, of course, you know, Gina's, Kathleen Kennedy's statements on Gina there. Everything related to that, obviously, is that she has no, support of Gina Carano, whatever, at all, whatsoever. We know that all Kennedy's problems with Gina actually predate when Gina was posting stuff on social media. It goes way before that. So obviously it wasn't related to the Twitter stuff that, Gina was posting. Everything that actually came in between Kathy Kennedy and Gina came well before that whole entire fiasco. So the biggest thing about all of this that I think fans can really take away from is the fact that Kathleen Kennedy really seems to hold this type of grudge against Carano for several reasons. And a character like Cara Dune, Disney is welcoming her back with open arms. They are welcoming Gina back with open arms. This is the new plan right now. It is a desperate move, let's be honest. They're not being genuine. They're not being nice to Carano in the nicest, direct sense. But they are viewing this as a business move, a business opportunity. Because they know if they bring her back, the fans are going to be going wild, merchandise will be soaring, and they know that. And it's just a business move to Disney, so it really is all up to Gina if she wants to decide and accept this overall, offer to come back in Mando Season 4 and the revised version of Rangers of the New Republic and more. So, anyways, I would love to hear what you guys have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Gun in hand, we are alone again. From night to moon.